All right. Well, welcome everybody. I'm glad everybody could show up and get some information and have some nice chats afterwards. This is our Newo Faithful Footprints and Spice collaborative webinar, Greening Faith Buildings. So I'll do some introductions here. Some people, I believe, may know me. My name is Nicole Wellakachi. I grew up in the United Church, and right now I've joined in with Newo as a energy auditor slash wellness facilitator support. I have my bachelor's in political science and also alternative energy technologist from the NATE program. And I'm an energy manager in training. With us is Maroof. He's our head energy auditor with Newo Global Energy. Has his master's of civil and environmental engineering. And then we have Annette, who's with SPICE, which is Solar Power Investment Cooperative of Edmonton. So she's the cooperative manager, and she has a master in business economics. So first, we'll get into what the Faithful Footprints program is. So Faithful Footprints is the UCC General Council's response to the fact that the global climate crisis poses a grave threat to our planet and must be tackled urgently. Energy used to light and heat buildings is one of the largest carbon contributors and also one of the biggest expenses. That's why Faithful Footprints provides a grant that reduces boundaries to implementing energy-saving projects. This grant only applies to United Churches, but this webinar will provide valuable information regarding the value found in an energy audit, as well as how to fund any community building projects. I'll quickly go into the full details of that grant near the end of the webinar. I've also added a helpful resource slide at the end of the presentation where you can check out the Faithful Footprints Regional Support Center, access a step-by-step guide for the grant and energy audit application, as well as other helpful resources. You'll also see a link to the Newo Global Energy webpage where you can learn more about what drives the heart of Newo, and a link to SPICE, Solar Power Investment Cooperative of Edmonton. So what are the benefits of greening your building? Beyond the obvious goal of reducing carbon emissions and contributing to a greener planet, there are several benefits to greening your faith building. People, especially young people, are excited and drawn to green energy projects. These projects can breathe new life into your church or community building, attracting new energy and fresh faces. Having an exciting new project to announce gives you an opportunity to make use of social media platforms to reach a new demographic, and to show them that, we are committed to the environment and we are excited. This program gives your church the opportunity to become a part of the global move to improve climate resilience and leave a healthier, more sustainable world for our children. Not to mention that green retrofits can significantly lower your monthly energy bills. All right, so I'll throw it on down to Maroof.
Okay. Hi guys, I'm Maroof. I am the lead energy auditor here at Newo, and I have been doing energy audits for past 4 or 5 years. And with United Churches, we have been doing energy audits for nearly 3 years now. So what's an energy audit? Most of the people, whenever they hear the word audit, they usually mention like, oh, there's something bad. But technically, we like to say it as an energy assessment. It gives you an idea how your energy is being used. So there are 3 types of energy audit: ASHRAE level 1, ASHRAE level 2, and ASHRAE level 3. ASHRAE is the standard which guides the energy audit principles. So ASHRAE level 1 is the walkthrough. It's a basic qualitative, not quantitative one, in which an energy manager like me or Nicole will walk through the building manager, the whole facility. They'll find the possible energy savings upgrades, and they will mention it. Usually that's all what ASHRAE level 1 is, but sometimes you'll get a 1 or 2 page report telling what exactly to do. Then there's ASHRAE level 2, which is in depth, which is more like a quantitative, and it gives you a payback. It tells you like how much money is needed and all those things. Then there is a third, which is the advanced one, which includes like if you're that's for big corporation. If they wanted to go for high level financial feasibility analysis, that's what they are required to do. So with United Churches, we have been doing energy audits of their churches for past like nearly 3 years, and we have done a lot of them. And we usually do actually level one, which is like a walkthrough audit. We try to find the possible energy saving opportunities. Then we try to give them a report probably like in a couple of weeks. Having done so many audits, we continuously found that there is a lot of similarity between the churches, the whole facility. And in this presentation, we have find the most common things that we have find in most of these buildings, and I'll try to talk about it. Okay. So how I have grouped it is like the cheapest one comes first. So as we move on into the different energy saving opportunities, they will be more and more expensive. So the cheapest one, which we have find nearly in every church, is the weather sealing. Here in pictures, you can see there is a basement windows, and you're going to see on the left side the thermal image. There is the yellow part is the amount of heat being like how hot it is, which signifies how much amount of heat is being lost. So it usually happens like the weather sealing, weather stripper is broken, it's old, and it's worn off. So this is probably the cheapest one, which has the most significant effect that you wanted to do. So usually the weather sealing and weather stripping, whether it's caulking or stripping, it usually has a life of 3 to 5 years. So it needs to be replaced every 3 to 5 years. And most of the churches we went, like the weather stripping, particularly on the doors, have not been replaced for next like previous 10 years. So this is usually the first step if you are planning to do like your energy saving opportunity or upgrades. So here you can see in the door on the right side, it's just a normal door. We can't see anything, but looking at the thermal image, you can see the yellow part is the heat being lost there, is the hot part. So if you can replace this weather stripping, it's probably the easiest one and the cheapest one, and which has the most significant, like a significant amount of energy will be saved. So moving ahead, the second part we found, like most of the church buildings we went to were really old, which means like most of them had really old faucets. And we can see a lot of these faucets have like they were not built to be like a water conservation, considering the water conservation in mind. So replacing a faucet aerator, it usually costs you like between $5 to $10 each. So it significantly saves a lot of water, which is saving. And when we're talking about energy, because it also saves you the hot water, which in turn save you the energy used to heat it. So if you see like you have a high flow faucet aerator, which is like between 3 to 5 gallons a minute, replacing it with a 1 to 1.5 gallon a minute faucet aerators will make a huge impact when you're talking about water bills and as well as the amount of energy needs to water. Okay. The other energy saving opportunity that you can look into, which doesn't cost you much, is upgrading your thermostats. Nearly every church we went to had most of their energy, like thermostats, like they were like prehistoric times, and they were like really old, and the replacing them with the not the smart, either smart or a programmable thermostats in which you can program the indoor temperature when the building is unoccupied will save a significant amount of energy. So when the building is not occupied, you can reduce the temperature to 17 degrees, and when the building is occupied, you can change the temperature to 22 degrees. This energy saving opportunity or the upgrade has the best cost per energy saving ratio. That if you're planning to replace your thermostat, it usually costs between $300 to $500 if you're thinking about going to programmable. Yeah, and once you have change your thermostats to programmable, it is recommended to set the unoccupied temperature as 17 degrees and occupied temperature as 22. So because we have seen like it's not like in a residential or a commercial building where the whole facility is used nearly every day. At church, particularly if you have a sanctuary which is being used once a week and you're heating it continuously to 23 degrees, it'll make a huge impact on your energy bills. If you're upgrading your thermostat to programmable, we also recommend putting a thermostat cover. It won't cost you much, but it'll prevent people to changing. So what usually happens, like people tend to increase the temperature of the thermostats when they come into the church, but by the time they leave, they forget to reduce it to the normal. So it keeps on heating the building, even the building is unoccupied. The other cheap thing to do is like insulating your water heater lines. So we went to a church and we saw they recently upgraded their water heater, but you can see the water heater line was still uninsulated. So what usually happens, like the water is cooled down pretty quick and you lose some part of energy. It's not huge, but it's recommended like if you're upgrading your water heater line, make sure you're going to insulate those as well. Uh, so coming down to now to some more a bit expensive energy saving opportunities, we have lighting. Nearly every church we went to, they still have the fluorescent lighting. Upgrading your lighting to a LEDs not only reduces your energy bills, like if we're talking about numbers, you'll be reducing the energy bills by lighting by around 50% if you change from fluorescent to LEDs, which is huge. But it also reduces your maintenance cost because the replacement time for LEDs is probably 2 to 3 times more than what's the fluorescent. If you need to replace a fluorescent every 5 years, you don't have to replace the LEDs for next 15 years. So that's if we're talking apples to apples. Uh, and if you are already planning to once you're doing the LED retrofit or you're upgrading the your lighting, we also recommend putting in occupancy sensors, particularly in washrooms or common spaces or corridors. Uh, because why we're saying it like connect it with the LEDs, because you already have an electrician in-house, so you can use his facility at that time. It'll be much cheaper to install an occupancy at that time rather than bringing someone in another time, which will cost you much more money. Usually windows come at the lower part of the recommendation list. Why? Because they are expensive, like very expensive, and they don't save a huge amount of energy. But when we're talking about like particularly in faith communities and churches, like these buildings are really old. Like we have seen some from 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, and we have seen they have like these buildings have they have wood like framing, they have single pane windows, and these are really old windows. And we can definitely see, like even in this picture, you can see the blue part means like how cold it is. Like the hottest part in this picture is like 20 degrees, while as the coldest part is 4.2 degrees. What it does is it creates a cold spot in the facility. And if you are in this building where there is like a single pane, when you on a cold day, when you sit close to the window, you're going to see a cold breeze coming in. That's because of like the heat is being exchanged at that time. So if you have an old building and you're having an old window, like probably single pane windows, we recommend changing them to triple pane or at least double pane windows. It not only saves you energy, but it also increases the comfort level of the whole building or the church. You won't be feeling any cold spots or drafts coming in with that. The downside of installing like those like high efficiency windows is like usually nearly in every case the payback is around 30 years, which is huge as compared to when we're talking about LEDs, it's like 5 years. Look, here you can also see like they have single pane windows and they have the wooden framing. and you can see a rot. And when you go inside, you can see definitely there was a draft coming in. So if you're planning to replace them with high efficiency vinyl windows, then yeah, double pane or triple pane. This is not the energy efficiency part. This is just health hazard, which we found in multiple churches. If you have a water heater at your church and you're going to see rust on top of it, that means you have a backdraft happening in your maintenance room. So what actually happens is the carbon dioxide and water vapor, which were supposed to be vented outside, they are being sucked into the maintenance room. And why is that happening? The furnace running in your maintenance room is creating a low pressure, which sucks the air in. So this creates because this increases the overall carbon dioxide level, and this increases the health risk of the whole facility. If you see the rust on on your water heater, make sure to consult an HVAC and get it like at least looked at. Still staying on the water heater, like most of the facilities we have been, the water heater were like probably 15, 20, or 25 years old. Comparing it to like the average life of water heater is around 12 years. So replacing them with the condensing high efficiency water heaters will save you a lot of like energy as well as money. The other point to consider if you're planning to like replace your water heater, what you can do is like you can think about installing an instantaneous water heater. Why we recommended this? Because if the church is being used once a day, once a week, that means for next 6 days, your water is being heated so that it can be stored. So energy is being lost from the water and it's being continuously heated to keep it at 49 degrees, which saves which means you're losing energy. So what you can do is you can install an instantaneous or on-demand water heater and which will prevent this from happening. The other benefit of installing instantaneous water heater is you can install it close to your, like if you're installing it in washroom, you can install it close to your faucets, which means like the time taken to reach the water from your water heater to your like sink is greatly reduced. That means faster water, which a lot of us will be happy. Probably at the bottom, one of the bottom is like upgrading your HVACs. Depends on what you have, whether you have furnace, whether you have boilers, or whether you have a mixed system. It is expensive to upgrade your system. Like one when you have if your church is having furnace, the usual life is around 12 to 15 years. But considering what we have seen, there were a lot of places where the furnaces were over 25 years old, but they were in good condition because they have been well maintained and they have not been used much. The only downside is because they are old furnaces, the installed efficiency was around 80%. And after 25 years, the efficiency has been reduced to probably like 65%. Now, if you're upgrading your furnace, even if it's like running it's still in a decent condition to a new one, which is running at 95%, that means you're increasing your overall efficiency by 30%, which will save you some money like over the long run. The other upgrades which come at the bottom of the list is first is the insulation. It's expensive to insulate your building, and like nearly all of the churches have other significant places where they can spend money rather than insulation. It's super expensive, and the payback is like really, really, really low. Like this really comes at the end of the like, if you have too much money and you wanted to spend it, then spend it on insulation. Like the second one is HVAC zoning. What it does is like it splits your whole facility into different zones. Rather than having a single thermostat throughout the whole facility, you have different thermostats in different parts of the building. You can independently like set the temperature for the each zone. That means like your sanctuary will be at 17 degrees for 5 days and one day on 22 degrees. Your office will be for like 3 days at 22, rest at 17. So which will kind of make sense. But the problem with HVAC zoning is it takes a lot of labor as well as it's expensive. So we'll have to consider that too. One of the other things we found in most of the churches, which people usually it gets neglected, is like fans. Uh, we have seen fans which are like 30 years old, maybe more. So they have been running fine, like particularly in sanctuary, like it's like to circulate air, which was fine. But having a 30-year-old fan is, first of all, it's not energy efficient, but it has moving parts, so it poses a significant fire risk. So the fire risk is more concerning rather than the energy efficiency part. So if you have a fan which is running from like 20 years or more, like think about, like, you should consider it replacing. If you have a huge sanctuary, you can replace it with high volume, low velocity HLBS fans, which is like a big fan you might have seen in shopping malls or big buildings or warehouses. The one of the other thing, like if you're already doing upgrading your furnace or you're upgrading your HVAC, we recommend installing heat recovery ventilators. What heat recovery ventilator does, it takes the hot air, like in a regular case, the hot air goes out and the clean air comes in, the cold air. What it does, it takes the heat from the air which is leaving the building and uses that to heat the incoming air without direct exchange of the particles. So this significantly increases your, like, the overall efficiency of the whole building and reduces your energy bills. Now, talking a little bit about solar. Solar doesn't come as like an energy efficiency part. It's like it produces energy, thus helps in uh, making your overall building green. We know in Alberta, our grid is still comparatively like not as clean as compared to other provinces. But yeah, if you're planning, like if you have money and you wanted to spend on something which kind of makes sense, which has a good payback, solar is the way to go. Pass it to Annette.
Yeah, thanks, Maroof. I want to share a little bit about how you can make those measures, energy efficiency upgrades, but also solar installs. How can you enable your faith groups to do that without actually needing money lying around to spend for that by the ways. So who is SPICE? Jess and Nicole have said it. It's the Solar Power Investment Cooperative of Edmonton. So I did see that there's a bunch of people not out of Alberta and all over of Alberta in the webinar, which is great. So of Edmonton is where we're based. We also work locally, but locally is including the province, or we work together with the other co-ops that do a similar thing. And one of them is in Bow Valley, the Bow Valley Green Energy Co-op, and another one is in the Peace River region. And they also service parts of BC. So even if you're not in Edmonton or close to Edmonton, it's worth listening to this. So what is SPICE and what do we do? So we are a cooperative. And as that, we work with the democratic decisions and transparency. So our members decide what SPICE does and how we're steered. And we are a certified social enterprise, which is what makes us such great partners with Newo. We raise local capital for sustainability. So our members invest into local sustainability projects, and we maximize the social and environmental returns for them. What do we do with the capital that we raise? We realize tailored solutions for communities. So basically, communities like faith groups, but also community leagues or other communities we might be involved in, we enable them to get solar or to do their energy efficiency upgrades with little changes to your monthly costs. So you gain sustainability and savings in the long run without needing to have the upfront money right away. How exactly does that work? What can we offer you? So basically, we offer financing like a bank, but we're not a bank because we're a co-op and we offer financing out of the community. We also understand renewable energy and energy efficiency, which greatly differs us from any other financing options that are out on the market that usually do not want much to do with those sustainable projects. So in particular, it's financing for energy efficiency upgrades and or solar on your building. And this can be done with very little change to your monthly costs. So how does this work? We facilitate the upgrades and installs. We bring in the project management and the expertise and the financing. You save on your monthly energy bill as soon as your project is realized, and your monthly savings cover the financing costs that you pay for to Spice during the financing term. After the financing term, you own the upgrades. So whether it's a lighting upgrade or a solar array, it then is in the ownership of your community, and you benefit from the full monthly savings on energy. So savings can come from two ways, as we've said. The one way is save actual energy, which reduces your bill. And the other way is put solar on your roof. Then you produce energy and you use your own produced energy and therefore also need less from the grid and pay a lot less. How does the journey towards that look like? I just want to give a brief introduction to what you need to do to realize and what Spice does along the way. So first step is the energy audit, or if you feel you already did an energy audit or you already did all your lighting upgrades and you feel your weather stripping is great and you just want to look at solar, we also do just solar assessments. And we do those typically all together with Newo. The next step is we give you a rough estimate for the economic viability of any upgrades, so energy efficiency and solar. And with that, we sit down together and discuss your options. And at that point, it's a good moment to say, what's the priority? Where do you want to go? What possibilities do you have in terms of grant money, in terms of own money to put down, or do you need full financing? And what is feasible and doable? And as soon as we know that, we create a detailed project plan together. And as soon as we know what to do and how much it's going to cost, we do the fundraising for you. And the fundraising in this is not a donation, but it's an investment. So you can also ask your congregation members if they would put some of their money that they maybe have invested somewhere else into a renewable energy project on your building. And then they can do that through Spice. Once the funds are there and the project plan is clear and we have our contracts in place, we realize the project, and then you have the project and you have your savings. And then during the financing term, your monthly bill stays roughly the same as it is right now, but you use your savings to pay the financing. And after the end of the financing term, you have the full benefits of the measures you did and the full ownership of whatever you installed, a solar array or LED lighting that will help you save money for the next 20, 30 years. So this is basically what Spice can bring to the table in this, and what we invite conversations about. And I think with this, I'm handing back to Nicole, who's going to say something about the grant opportunities for United Churches in particular.
We're really excited at Newo to partner with Spice because we know that some faith buildings they don't have a ton of extra capital. So Spice is really going to provide that stopgap where you don't have to put the money up front. You can finance it with your bill not going up very much or staying the same. So it's just a fantastic cooperative. We're really excited going forward to work with them. So basically the grant is, as I mentioned, it's just for the United Churches. But I do suggest if you are from a different faith or a community hall or whatever, there are financing options out there. There are grants available. So I did put at the back a bunch of resources that you can look into that just make it a little bit more accessible, because it can be really daunting to search these grants out, because there's so many and they're all so convoluted. But those tools will be really helpful. So basically, the United Church Faithful Footprints grant is a reimbursement grant. So the church will be required to pay for the project up front. Once the project is complete, the grant will reimburse 2/3 of the project cost up to $30,000. So that's where SPICE can come in, where you won't have to put the money up front, you'll finance it up front. That means the church must fundraise or otherwise cover 1/3 of the project. I know this sounds scary, but the Faithful Footprints team, alongside our partners at SPICE, have you covered. We're constantly keeping an eye out for potential funding, and you've already heard how SPICE can help remove or mitigate these monetary restrictions. So through their partnership with Newo Global Energy, Faithful Footprints is also able to offer a limited number of free energy audits to the United Churches. This will help us pinpoint exactly where the most energy savings can be found, as Maroof so excellently explained.